Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on the Breakfast Show, and it's 9 a.m. Time to wake up, time to get your coffee going and your breakfast going, because we've got a string of guests.
Absolutely right. And of course, first up, well, we got Financial Freedom Minute with Mr. Yap Ming Hui. And of course, this time around, let's talk about your EPF savings. Now, of course, many people get confused with, account 1 and account 2.
And most importantly, we all know EPF is obviously for retirement, but there are some exceptions like housing loan and computers
and so on and so forth.
And a lot of people don't know, even unit trust. But you know what? To tell us more about this, of course, we have our resident financial guru, Mr. Yap Ming Hui, to tell us more about it. So, Mr.
Very
Yap.
good. Over to you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, fellow Malaysians. You are now watching Financial Freedom Minutes with Yap Ming Hui. Now, today I want to talk to you about the do's and the don'ts for your EPF withdrawal. Now, we can see why is it important for us to talk about this topic. Because we want to make EPF withdrawal that can help us to increase our chance to achieve financial freedom, and we want to avoid those EPF withdrawal which will affect our chance of achieving financial freedom. So I hope that's clear. Now, we can see that effective from 1st January 2007, EPF have done some changes into their account, 1, 2, 3, things like that, so that now we have only 2 accounts. Account 1 and account 2. Account 1 will be a place to park all 70% of your monthly contribution, and account 2 will be the one whereby you park your 30% of your monthly contribution. Under account 1, the 70% part of it, you will be able to allow to invest into somehow authorized unit trust investment by EPF. Account 2, whereby is the 30% of it, you will be allowed to make withdrawal for either home purchase, to reduce your housing loan, to make education withdrawal, or to withdraw for medical kind of purposes. Now, what are the do's and the don'ts? Now, there are 2 do's and I will encourage you to do. Now, number 1, I would suggest you to make EPF withdrawal to invest into authorized unit trust investment. Now, how do you qualify for that? To qualify for that, you need to have at least 5,000 ringgit more than the required basic saving amount in account 1. For example, if you are now 31 years old, according to EPF basic saving requirement, you need to have 20,000. If your balance is 35,000, then 35,000 minus 20,000 basic saving, you have a 15,000 extra. So since 15,000 is more than 5,000, then you are eligible to invest the money. But how much can you afford to invest out of this 15,000? Not all 15,000. Only 20% of the 15,000 you are allowed to invest, which is 3,000 out of the 35,000 that you have in account 1. Now, what's the advantages of you to actually invest into unit trust? The advantage number 1 is that you'll be able to invest according to your risk profile and your investment style. Say, for example, you're young, you are a high risk taker, you can afford to invest into a higher risk and higher return kind of investment to match your risk profile. Then you'll be able to generate return which is maybe 8%, 10%, or even 12% over the years, better and higher than EPF. Okay? Number 2 is that while you invest into unit trust using EPF money, the front-end fee is kept at 3%. Compared to if you use cash, you may pay up to about 5 to 6% for your EPF withdrawal, for your unit trust investment. So these are 2 advantages that you can enjoy when you invest using EPF money. Now, but when you do this investment, I would suggest you to be very careful to select the right funds. Not all unit trusts perform. Be very careful in select the right fund, and avoid bond fund, because bond fund may give you about 5 or 6% return, which may not be too high return compared to EPF, which is giving you about 5 or 6% kind of return. So for that matter, it's not justify your time and effort or money to invest into bond fund. And of course, whatever you invested, make sure you monitor those unit trust investment properly. Okay. Now, the second thing that I would suggest you to do with your EPF withdrawal is to use the EPF money in account 2 to buy property. Under EPF rules, you can buy a house or use the EPF money to reduce your housing loan with the money that you have in account 2. Now, the advantage of buying a house using the account 2 money is that you build your wealth by paying down the mortgage. So it's like a forced saving like that. No, And number two, very importantly, is that you can also profit from the property appreciation over the time. So you win in two ways. No? And as far as reducing housing loan is concerned, I would only suggest you to reduce housing loan using EPF money if your mortgage interest rate far exceeds 5%. Say, for example, if your mortgage interest rate is 9%, okay, and you're enjoying EPF return of 5%, then 9% minus 5%, then you have a saving of 4%. If your mortgage interest rate is 5%, EPF giving you 5%, there's no saving at all. Okay? So be careful when you want to actually use EPF money to reduce the housing loan. Now, what are the move or EPF withdrawal that I would suggest you try not to do, or I discourage you to do? Number one, don't use your EPF money to pay for your own further education or your children's tertiary education. Now, why is that so? Because when you use the EPF money, which is meant for your retirement saving, to fund the children's university education, that will deplete your retirement saving and will affect your own financial freedom attainment. Okay? And so what do I suggest you to do? I would suggest you to use your own money to fund your own education or your children's university education. If you start planning early, when your children is very young, I'm sure you have actually saved enough, and then you have a different pool money for your education, and you leave your EPF money for your retirement lifestyle. Okay? And the second thing I would suggest you to avoid doing your EPF withdrawal is to use the money in EPF account 2 to pay for your medical expenses or your family member medical expenses. Now, why do I suggest that? Because when you do that, you again, like what I say, you deplete the money that's meant for retirement saving and affect your financial freedom attainment. So what I suggest you to do is to get yourself insured or insure your family member for whatever critical illness that they actually have through the insurance company. So in the event there's actually a critical illness expenses need to be incurred, then you can actually claim from insurance company and let insurance company pay for the expenses. Otherwise, I would still suggest you to use your own money if you're not insurable or you have not insured yourself. So using EPF money to take care of the critical illness for yourself or your family member should only be the last resort that you think about. Okay? In that case, we can make sure that whatever EPF money that you have can be maximized, optimized to achieve your financial freedom. Okay? I also want to suggest to everybody to remember in front of TV to say that if you, just now I talk about basic saving that required for you before you invest in unit trust. If you want to actually have that table for different age, what is the basic saving you need, you can go to yapminghui.com to actually download and to actually look at the table to see how much you can allow to invest into your EPF investment, unit trust investment. So always remember, smarter you, smarter money management. Back to you, Hanson and Nas.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Yap.
I feel smarter me, smarter money management.
Clear already, EPF?
Yes.
So far, so good. Thank you so much for that, because many of our viewers out there are kind of confused with account 1, what can it do? And there's a general a feeling out there that usually you don't touch account 1 at all, Only account 2, 30% of your EPF savings, and then you want to use for your complete housing loan, so on and so forth. So, great tips. And then here's the thing. You did say that from account 1 you can, of course, take some out to invest in unit trust.
Yes.
But any unit trust is there sort of a preferred status or anything authorized by Bank Negara? Because it's only 3%.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. So basically, under the EPF scheme, EPF actually have selected, shortlisted the number of the unit trust from number of unit trust company that can be allowed to invest using EPF money. Okay. So not all the funds. I think especially new fund, which have no track record, may not be allowed by EPF to actually invest. That's number one. So we can rely on that, number one. Number two, of course, you yourself need to do your own research to see which kind of fund that you should invest into. Because now at one point I mentioned to you to avoid is that try to avoid investing into a bond fund.
Yeah, exactly.
So because bond fund give you 4, 5, or 5, 6% return.
Medium to low returns.
Your EPF money is already giving this return.
Or probably more.
And then furthermore, when you actually invest into EPF using a bond fund, you may incur some expenditure and things like that.
Ah, I see, in terms of taxes and all that.
So you just the charges, the commissions and the fee. So it does not justify at all. So you must buy any fund, either at least bond fund or equity fund.
But having said that, would you, on your expert opinion, encourage people to actually take money from the account one to invest in unit trust?
I would suggest they do so, provided that they do it in a proper way to make money.
Structured way, yeah.
Because say, for example, Hanson, you are young.
Yeah.
You are young. Before you retire, there's maybe another 20 or 25 years to go.
Yeah.
So you can afford to take a risk to invest into some kind of equity fund, which over the years can give you easily 10, 12% return. Compared to if you leave 100% of money in EPF, you're quite safe lah. Every year you get about 5, 6, but 5 and 6% compared to 10%, there's a difference of 4%. If you were to compound it over 20 years,
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of
But
money.
how does EPF work in terms of the allowance of investment? Say, you know, because some unit trusts you can buy by the month, you pay by the month because you invest a certain small amount, or you can pay a large chunk into it. But with regards to account one, how does EPF allow you to do it?
Compared to cash money, whereby you can do either lump sum or you can do it every month, EPF allow you to actually do one investment, and then every 3 months.
Every 3 months.
Every 3 months you will allow to withdraw. Every time you withdraw, what I mentioned just now, you need to refer to your age group, the required saving that you must have inside account one. And then whatever extra, you can invest only 20% of it. So if you calculate just now, I say if this guy got 35,000, just not an example, 35,000, he can only invest about 3,000.
15,000, and of course,
so you can see that the percentage is taking higher risk, so-called higher risk, is very, very small. And for someone who got 31, 35 years old, they can definitely afford to take such a risk.
Exactly. All right. So, of course, according to your risk profile, the younger you are, the more risk you can take, and the more you can afford to make mistakes. Well, not to say we want you to make mistakes, but at the same time, it's the practical solution to go for.
And I think what Mr. Yap overall is trying to say is that I think with regards to EPF, there are only two things you should really invest in: is unit trust and your housing.
Your house.
Only two things.
Yes, for sure. In fact, house is even more worthwhile.
It's
Because
a capital appreciation.
There's a capital position there. So if you actually buy the house for your own use, rather than renting the house, you must well use the EPF money to buy a house, so that you can pay the renter, and then pay down your own mortgage. And second, you expect appreciation. So these two, I would think, is a sure do thing.
Expect expenditure, of course, cross your fingers, and hopefully your property particularly.
Or if not, just leave it in EPF, right? The rest of it.
Exactly. If you want to be safe, 5-6%, if you want to not live on the edge, but then again, that's not smart money management, is that?
Yes, it's
not.
There you go. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Yap Ming Hui.
Okay.
And of course, we'll expect you again
next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, coming in with more tips for smarter money management, smarter use, smarter money management.